Kirti Madhvi welcoming you all for this 12th session of Gita Made Easy. So far we have been studying one session after the other, one chapter after the other, and finally we have reached at the 12th chapter, which is a very, very important and significant chapter. The title is Susadhya Bhakti Yog, or devotional service. So basically Krishna would directly talk about devotional service here in this chapter. And before we proceed, let us all recite this wonderful prayer for my wonderful Siksha Guru. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So seeking the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, who has wonderfully blessed us with this Bhagavad Gita as it is, let us begin with today's chapter. And before going there, we will have an overview of what we have already discussed in chapter 11. So yesterday was quite a phenomenal chapter. So many wonderful things happened and we all heard, because the process is hearing. So we all heard about Krishna's universal form. That very, very rare form which Krishna himself says that in 11th chapter, when he appeared like that, that was the first time when he was actually exhibiting that universal form. So we saw that how in the first section, actually Arjun made that request, and Arjun was in a proper state of mind and he requests for universal form. And basically Arjun was requesting this form to consider, not for himself, but those who consider Krishna as an ordinary person. So to establish Krishna's supremacy over them. And secondly, those who claim themselves to be the Supreme Lord. So to tell them or to set the standard, set a benchmark that this is what is expected from you if you are the Supreme Lord. The second section, we saw Krishna's universal form, how it was manifest and yet unmanifest. It could be seen only by Krishna's mercy. Krishna gives Arjun that vision because of Arjuna's unique position. And that is what was there in the... and then we saw Arjuna's amazement, that how Arjun was completely amazed after seeing that form. He started describing from top to bottom vision, glowing effulgences, and so many other characteristics were mentioned there, that how it had unlimited arms and unlimited heads, and wonderful pastimes were happening, and he could see everyone there in the universal form. After seeing that, Arjun was overwhelmed with astonishment and he started offering prayers. So he prays there, and then Krishna concludes that by saying, I am time. And he also tells Arjun that now you be my instrument and do what I am asking you to do. In the last section, section number 4, where there is a comparison between the armed form. So first was this universal form, then Krishna exhibited the Vaikuntha form, and finally he shows the two-handed form, the Shyam Sundar form, which is dearmost to the devotees. So this was yesterday, and proceeding further. So here is chapter number 12, and in this chapter today the key learnings would be: 1, what does Krishna guarantees? So here Krishna is guaranteeing something, and we will carefully hear what Krishna guarantees. How can I serve Krishna without changing much in my lifestyle? So continuing the way I am, if you are a student, if you are a housewife, if you are a retired person, if you are an IT professional, if you are a lecturer, continuing with whatever you are doing, and yet how can I serve Krishna? And then a very important point is qualities which Krishna likes. So what can I acquire to become dear to Krishna? So this is all we would be learning in chapter number 12. So this chapter is actually the shortest chapter. So as you can see, there are 20 verses. Though it is shortest, Yet it is very, very essential because it gives very important insights on devotional service. It talks about various stages of devotional service. And it also talks about the qualities of devotee who perfect devotional service. So as we can see, this chapter is divided into 3 sections. The first section is Bhakti is the best. So Krishna again tells that point there that Bhakti is best. Second is about the progressive stages of devotion. So there are various stages through which we can actually practice devotion. So that is described. And as we discussed, the third section talks about the qualities that endears one to Krishna, or which would make me dear to Krishna. So hope we are all ready to jump in and get this access to the devotional service. So here comes the first section. Bhakti is the best. So now if we read this chapter, the very first verse, actually Arjun inquires. Arjun asks a question. So we are first of all extremely grateful to Arjun for asking the right questions at the right time. So here Arjun asks a question that which is considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahma, the unmanifested form. So this is the question with which the chapter begins. Now, I hope we all remember that God realization happens in 3 stages: Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagwan. So here Arjun is basically comparing impersonal Brahma, or the formless form of the Lord. So those who worship Krishna in the formless Brahma Jyoti, is that superior? Or those devotees who worship Krishna as Bhagwan, is that superior? So which one is superior? Now, we may think, why this question again? Because Krishna has emphasized many times that bhakta or the devotees are superior. So actually Arjun is asking this question because in the last chapter we saw the universal form of the Supreme Lord. And like Arjun, we all were astonished with that form. And we may become attracted to that form. And we may start worshipping, with that awe-inspiring form of Krishna, the universal form of Krishna, and we may not really worship him as Bhagwan. So that is why Arjun is asking that question, because that form, the universal form, has now disappeared. So that form no longer exists. So it is like a formless thing. So that is what the chapter begins with. So here in this chapter, we have basically 3 sections in this particular section, 3 important points. One is devotees are perfect. So Krishna tells that how his devotees are perfect. Second is, what is the worshipper of impersonal feature? So what is the difficulty, or is it difficult? So he talks about worshipper of impersonal feature. And the third portion is Krishna personally delivers the devotees. Krishna personally takes care of the devotees. So these are the 3 things which we'll be seeing in the upcoming 7 verses. So here is 12.2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Veshamano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayo Petas Te Me Yukta Tamamataha. So Krishna is answering here because in the first verse Arjun has asked who is better, impersonalists or devotees. So what Krishna is saying here, those who fix their minds on my personal form, which means those who worship Krishna as Bhagwan. So those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. So this is Krishna's opinion, which he is strongly telling here, that this process, those who worship him in personal form, they are the best. Yukta Tamaha, they are most perfectly situated in yoga. Why? We have already discussed that how this Bhakti Yoga is very easy to follow and it gives assured success because Krishna is in control. So Krishna confirms here. Now, before we get deeper into this chapter, for all our benefit, I have made a tabular representation where I would be comparing the impersonalist with the devotee. So considering various places where Krishna has spoken, keeping that in mind, here I have formed this table so that we all can become very, very clear once and for all that what is the difference between impersonalist and devotee. So as we read the first one, so the impersonalist meditate on formless. So it's like you are sitting in a room and you just have to meditate on nothing. So nothing should come in our mind. So no animals, no relatives, no thoughts, no possession, nothing, completely formless. So isn't that difficult to meditating on nothingness? And the other option is for the devotee, they meditate on the deity form. So now form of Krishna, like you would be seeing that we are using very beautiful pictures of Krishna, his paintings. So he has this beautiful Sham Sundar form where he has two long arms, where he has lotus-like eyes, moon-like face, and then he wears always these yellow garments which sparkle like light. So yellow garland, holding a flute, having peacock feather. So all these things describe the form of the Supreme Lord. So if we are sitting for chanting, so if I'm a devotee, if I'm a bhakti yogi, and I sit for chanting, so when I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, my mind is occupied with the thoughts of Krishna. I can meditate on his form. So that is what it means that they do not meditate on formlessness. They meditate on a specific form. So this is the first difference. Second is impersonalists are required to completely control their senses. So as we have discussed at few points that our five senses are like five horses. And we are sitting in a chariot. So imagine yourself sitting in a chariot with five horses. Now, all these five horses, if they start running in five different directions, what would happen to me as a passenger there? So now, these senses, that is why need to be controlled. Because these senses, whenever they hear some nice music or hear something, some prajalpa, when we hear some gossip, we become attracted to that. Or when we smell something nice, we become attracted to that. So these senses actually takes us from our concentration or meditation to different things. So these need to be controlled because there are so many desires. And there is a constant competition there between the desires also. So for the impersonalists, they need to completely stop the activities. So they completely control their senses by stopping the activities. So when I will not cook anything fancy, I'll not smell anything fancy, and then I'll not want to eat anything. So like that. So that is their way of controlling the senses. The devotees, on the other hand, they engage their senses. So whatever talents are given or whatever senses I have, everything I try to dovetail in Krishna's service. So if I want, for example, if I want to sing, like I feel like singing. So yes, I can of course sing. But then the condition is I sing for Krishna. So I sing a nice bhajan, I sing some kirtan, and that is for Krishna. If I want to eat something, I prepare nice food, offer it to Krishna, and then I take prasad. So it is not that I don't have to eat, but then whatever I eat, I offer it to Krishna and then I eat. Also, I keep in mind what Krishna likes, so I offer accordingly. Similarly, if I am a painter, if I am a dancer, anything, so everything I keep Krishna in the center. And then I do it keeping him in the mind. So that is how I am dovetailing my senses. So we engage our senses rather than controlling the senses. Now the third point, the impersonalist, to understand Krishna, he reads, he studies Upanishads. So there are 108 Upanishads in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a little difficult language. So to understand that, and Sanskrit is a very profound language also. So those of you who know Sanskrit would know that each word of Sanskrit has many different usage. The same word can be used at different locations. So based on that, the meaning may change. So it is difficult to understand that way. So to understand the Supreme Lord through Upanishads, because Upanishad language is also contradictory. So which is right, which is wrong, how do I reach at a conclusion? So that is difficult. Whereas devotees perform Navavidha Bhakti. So we have already discussed that. We would be discussing today's session also a little portion about this Navvidhi Bhakti, and that is how they worship Krishna. So because of these things, what we have listed, like meditating on formless, controlling the senses, understanding Upanishad, so this impersonalist, the process becomes troublesome. Whereas for devotees, as we read in the 9th chapter, Raj Vidya Raj Guhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam, so it is a wonderful knowledge, and it is the devotional services performed su sukham kartum avyayam, with lot of happiness. So it is easy and natural, and we perform it happily. For the impersonalist, there is no relationship with the Supreme Lord, whereas a devotee enjoys an intimate relationship with the Supreme Lord. So when there is relationship, then comes fun. Then we start enjoying. So that is another thing which is like very attractive, being a devotee. Then for impersonalist, I have to depend on my own endeavor, in the sense how much knowledge I have, how much intelligence I have, and then I start this word jugglery, trying to sort it out, that okay, so which word of Sanskrit would mean what, and then in that context, what would the whole shloka mean? So does this imply this or that, or there is a contradiction? So all that I have to sort it out on my own endeavor. Whereas for devotees, we will read in verse number 7, Krishna says that Krishna delivers the devotees. So he takes care of the devotees completely. Then for impersonalists, they have this partial realization of the Supreme Lord. They understand Sat feature, the eternal aspect of the Supreme Lord. Whereas the devotee, he understands Sat Chidananda Vigraha. He understands a form of the Lord which is full of Sat or eternality, Chit or knowledge, and Anand or bliss. So this form of the Supreme Lord, which is made of eternality, knowledge, and bliss, I get the complete understanding. Whereas those who are aspiring from Brahma Jyoti, so they get the partial realization, which means the eternality aspect or the Sat aspect. So these are main differences between impersonalists and devotees. So now here is a learning for us. Complex process does not mean it will give better results than a process which is simple. Stop choosing by externals. So we may feel, oh, this impersonalist, it sounds so complicated. Let me try that. That will give me better result. But the learning here is Krishna himself is saying that Bhakti Yoga is simple, it's easy, and it is joyful, and that gives the maximum perfection also. So going further to the 5th verse, now Krishna is talking specifically about the worshipper of impersonal feature. So here Krishna says, Klesho adhikataras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham devadbhiravapyate. So in this verse we see that the verse is beginning with a word called klesho. So klesho means trouble. So that is one. And then if you see in the 3rd line, I think, there is another word called dukkham. So dukkham again means with trouble. So twice in one shloka, this word trouble is being used. So let's see what Krishna is saying. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Who are embodied means those who have the body, which means you and me. So Krishna is telling that for those whose minds are attached to unmanifested, which means Brahma realization, they are aspiring for Brahma realization. So Krishna is saying advancement is very troublesome. And to make progress in that discipline is always difficult. So now Krishna is emphatically stating, so we saw in the 2nd verse, he said that the devotees are the best. In the 5th verse, he's talking that how impersonalism is very, very difficult. It offers us lesser perfection. It does not give us Satchidananda Vigraha. It gives us more difficulty. And so this is very difficult process for those who are bodied. So the question may arise, okay, I want to become a devotee. I am all ready. What to do now? How do I perform devotional service? So here comes the Navavidhi Bhakti, or how we perform this process of devotional service. So this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam which says, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. So these are the 9 things we have already discussed in a little in brief earlier. So I would like to highlight here once again, because this is the essence. If we follow this, then perfection is guaranteed. So now here the 9 processes of devotional service are mentioned, and then if we choose one process or 2 process or all the 9 processes, we can we would definitely attain perfection. So that is what it's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'll give you some examples from Ramayana to make it very interesting, and so that you all remember, because Ramayana majority of us know. So I'll give you some examples from Ramayana. So the first thing, Shravanam. So Shravanam means hearing with rapt attention, with complete absorption hearing. So now there is this wonderful wonder monkey Hanuman in Ramayana, and Hanumanji is famous for hearing Ram's Katha with rapt attention. Even today it is said that wherever Ram Katha goes on, he just goes there and he just listens to this Ram Katha. So wherever he hears Ram, 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 Sita, Ram, Sita, Ram, Sita, Ram, Sita, Ram, Sita, Ram. So wherever Hanuman hears this, he just goes and he starts hearing more about Lord Ramchandra. So that is how he has perfected himself. He has become an Acharya on Shravanam. Talking about Kirtanam. Kirtanam means glorifying the Supreme Lord. So here from Ramayana we would know Valmiki, who wrote the entire Ramayana, and then the sons of Ram and Sita, Love Kush. So Love Kush, when after Valmiki composed Ramayana, they started going from place to place, and everywhere they were singing. They were singing the glories of Lord Ramchandra. So Love Kush and Valmiki have perfected their lives in Kirtanam. Talking about the third thing, Smaranam. So Smarana means remembrance, remembering the Supreme Lord, constantly absorbing myself and remembering the Supreme Lord. And here we see that Sita Devi, she perfected herself with Smaranam. In fact, it is mentioned that 1 year when she was at Lanka, she was so completely absorbed in the thought of Lord Rama that when Hanuman visits there to meet Mother Sita and finally he sees Sita, he felt that her facial expressions, her body language, everything was resembling to Lord Rama. So can you imagine, to such deep absorption, she was remembering Ramchandra. So Sita Devi perfected her life in Smaranam. Fourth comes Padasevanam, or worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. So either worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord or serving the devotees of the Lord. So here we have the example of Maharaj Bharat. So we all know that when Bharat heard that Rama had been exiled, so taking all his army and all the mothers and everybody and the entire Ayodhya, he went in search of Lord Rama, and he finds Rama in the forest. And when he sees Rama, and then he starts pleading him, requesting him to come back. But then Rama convinces him that no, I cannot come back there now because I have to follow my father's instruction. So then Bharat takes the padukas, or the slippers of Lord, sandals of Lord Rama, and then he actually worships those sandals for next 14 years till the time Ramchandra comes back. So that is how he perfected his life, by serving in separation. He was far away from Lord Rama, and yet his consciousness was completely absorbed, and he was serving the lotus feet of Lord Ramchandra. Talking about Archanam. So Archanam, we have the example of Shabari. So those of you who have heard, Shabari had some berries to offer to Lord Rama, and she actually tasted all the berries, and those which were sweet ones, that she was giving to Rama. So generally it is a custom that we do not offer our jutha to the Supreme Lord, But Shabri, because she had so much of love and devotion, that her love and devotion satisfied Rama. So that is how she was offering this directly to Lord Rama. Then coming to Vandanam. So Vandanam is glorifying or singing the glories or actually offering prayers, specific prayers. So now it is mentioned that when Hanuman reaches Lanka and there he sees the house of Vibhishan, and his entire house was painted with Ram, 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 Ram. So much he was praying to Lord Rama that his whole house was painted like that. And there is a description that actually once Ravana visits his house and Ravan says that, what is this? You have painted Ram, Ram everywhere. What is this? Who is this Ram? So Vibhishan says, oh, Ra is for Ravan and Ma is for Mandodari. So I have painted your and Mandodari's name. So that is how he satisfies and he sends his brother off. So anyway, so Vandanam, Vibhishan, talking about Dasyam. So Dasyam, the Acharya of Dasyam is Lakshman. How he served Rama continuously, like from birth till the time they were doing the pastimes here. Everything, whatever Rama would not even have to speak. And Lakshman would know that in this situation, what would Rama want? So Lakshman always desired this service to Rama, and that is how he became a perfect servant, and he was the Acharya of Dasyam. Talking about Sakhyam or friend, Sakha. So for Lord Rama, Sugriva was that Sakha. They actually did a fire sacrifice, and like how we have these peras in the shadi, in the marriage. So similarly, Sugriv and Rama, they actually performed a fire sacrifice to like strengthen their bond of friendship. So that is Sakhyam. And then Atmanivedanam, complete surrender. So this complete surrender, the Acharya is Jatayu. Jatayu knew that he would not be able to fight with Ravana. He was too old for that. And yet he tried to his full extent to save Sita when Ravan was kidnapping Sita. So that is how Jatayu gave a good fight to him, tried to stop him. And there is a very beautiful thing what he did is that he actually delayed the kidnapping. And when Ram and Lakshman came, and then he reported also what all has happened. So here we see from Ramayana how these 9 things, Shravan, hearing, Kirtanam, glorifying, Smaranam, remembering, Padasevanam, worshipping the feet, Archanam, performing worship, like offering Naivedyam and Arati, etc., Vandanam, offering beautiful prayers, Dasyam, having a relationship of a servant, Sakhyam, having a relationship of a friend, and Atma Nivedanam, surrendering everything to the Supreme Lord. So these are the Navavidhi Bhakti, and we can choose 1 or 2. But the most important for this Kali Yuga is Kirtanam or chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So going ahead with our Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says he personally delivers his devotees. He says, Tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha mai aveshita chetasam. So Krishna says samudharta. Samudharta means he is the deliverer. From where does he deliver? Mrityu samsara sagarat. So he delivers his devotees from the ocean of birth and death. Mrityu samsara sagarat. And he also says nachirat, which means he does not take long. He does not take time to deliver his devotees. He quickly delivers his devotees who are performing that Navavidhi Bhakti. So he quickly delivers those devotees. So the translation says, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So this is how Krishna personally delivers his devotees. So when Krishna is talking about devotees, he is referring to those who are performing Navavidhi Bhakti, who have fixed their mind on Krishna and who worship Krishna in the Bhagwan form. So moving ahead, here we have a beautiful life lesson, such strong recommendation, wide range of services, guarantee for this life and the next. Yes, dear friends, devotional service is the best. So now talking about the progressive stages of devotional service. So what are the various stages at which I can perform, where I am now, and what is the perfectional stage? Where do I have to reach? So Krishna would describe here in next few verses about this progressive stages of devotional service. So here, as you can see, now let's relax. Don't get confused with so much of text on your screen. But here is a summary of verse number 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. These 5 verses summary. And actually, as you can see, under 12.8, it is written the highest stage. So the highest stage of devotion, what happens at that? Mind is completely fixed in Krishna. So in that way, a devotee will live in relationship with Krishna. So he establishes a relationship and he is completely absorbed in Krishna. Little less than that. So that is highest. A little lesser than the highest is 12.9, which tells that devotee has not reached at that level. But then what he is doing is, he follows the regulative principles of sadhana bhakti. So as we have already discussed in one of our previous sections about the 4 regulative principles, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, and no intoxication. So these are the regulative principles, and there are some more. So basically, the devotee follows that regulative principle and hence develop a desire to attain Krishna. So he has not yet attained Krishna. His mind still wanders here and there. So he follows certain rules and regulations, some do's and don'ts, so that he can develop a desire to attain Krishna. A little less than that, I'm not able to follow regulative principles. So what shall I do? So the little less than that is, he works for Krishna. So he will gradually come to the stage of devotional service. So this 12.10 is actually not devotional service. He is yet to come to devotional service. So this 12.10 actually refers to Karma Yoga. So the person is performing Karma Yoga, maybe Nishkam or Sakam, both the cases, but he's performing Karma Yoga and gradually he would be purified and he will rise up. The lowest stage is mentioned in 12.12, where it says renunciation, cultivation of knowledge and meditation. So what happens when a person actually gains more and more knowledge and he gradually detaches himself from other objects? So that way he becomes purified, he becomes peaceful, and then there is a gradual lifting up of such a person. So these are some of the verses. You may think that verse number 11 is missing here. So actually verse number 11 we will be covering, but verse number 11 does not fall in the progressive stages of devotion. So let's read one after the other and try to figure out what it is. So this 12.8 is the perfected devotional service. A person is completely perfect. So let's read it. Mayeva mana adhatsva Mai buddhim niveshaya nivashishyasi mayeva ata urdhvam na samshayaha. Ata urdhvam na samshaya. Na samshaya means without any doubt. So about this there is no doubt. So what is it about which there is no doubt? So if we read here, actually Krishna is using this word mai thrice. Mai eva man adhatsva, mai buddhim niveshaya, niveshyashi mai eva. So thrice he is saying me. So what is he telling? Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. So if a person does that, then he actually attains the spiritual plane. So he is no longer living on the material plane. He starts living with Krishna. He is constantly absorbed in Krishna. He is absorbed in the holy names of Krishna. He is always, his thoughts, his activities, continuously he is thinking of Krishna. And in such a case, when actually devotee chants Hare Krishna, so Krishna is actually dancing on his tongue. Because with so much of love and affection, he calls out Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So this is what happens here at this stage. So you can see here in this picture, there is an image of Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, actually he is one such perfected devotee. So he wrote so many books, he traveled all over the world, he was preaching far and wide, but everything he was doing just to please the Supreme Lord. He was not doing anything for himself. For himself, he was willing to stay in a kutir, in a hut also. He had no desire for himself. But when it came to Krishna, he was constructing such beautiful temples and he was preaching far and wide. So this is the perfected devotee whose all activities revolve around Krishna. So here is a life lesson that very few things in life comes with such complete guarantee. Everything else comes with conditions apply. So when we go out shopping, or when or we see on our phone Amazon, Flipkart, and some deal, what they say, flashing deal, or Black Friday sale. So all that is there, but then there is asterisk which says condition apply, and then 4 or 5 things that you have to buy, minimum of this order and all that. But here when Krishna is saying that there is no samshaya, there is no doubt, Krishna is taking complete guarantee. So this process is completely guaranteed process. So this is the perfected stage. If we are not there yet, then what we have to do, Krishna tells in the next verse, that is sadhana bhakti. Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknosi mai sthiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ipchaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjun, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. So Krishna is telling here, Abhyasa Yogena. Abhyasa Yogena means practice the yoga. Which yoga he is telling? He is talking here about the Bhakti Yoga. So Abhyasa Yogena refers to the practice of devotional service. So he is not yet perfected. But like for anything in life, if I want to, let's say, people who participate in Olympic, now for years they practice and then they perform, and then sometimes they win some gold medal or silver medal or bronze medal. So it requires years of practice. Similarly, for a dancer, so if I'm learning, let's say, Kuchipudi or Bharatnatyam, it may take years of practice to perfect my dance form. So this practice is known as sadhana. So bhakti also has to be practiced. Bhakti has to be cultivated. So this sadhana we perform. So if one has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Lord, I mean not instant attachment, then we try to develop that by certain rules and regulations. So this is the second step. So the first one we discussed, perfected. If not perfect, then we start performing sadhana bhakti. So here it comes with some rules and regulations which we follow, which helps us in actually going to that platform of 12.8. So some of the rules and regulations are like, there are processes. So specific processes given. The first one is accepting a bona fide spiritual master. Diksha, initiation we call it. So we get the guidance who guides us what is right and what is wrong. When I am saying spiritual master, if you do not remember, go back to chapter 4, verse number 34. There we discussed the spiritual master and what is my qualification to acquire such a spiritual master. Also in 4.2, we discussed that this spiritual master has to be a bona fide spiritual master. So we take the guidance of spiritual master. He may start telling us, rise early in the morning, Brahma Muhurat. That time is very favorable for devotional activities. Then he may also say about temple visit, regular temple visit, offering prayers, chanting Hare Krishna, offering flower to the deities, cooking for the deities, and eating prasadam which has been offered to the deity. Then constant hearing of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So these are some of the things which actually helps in purification of our senses. And what is the qualification? Anyone can do it, provided that person is a little sincere and has a little faith. So little shraddha, and he can perform this process. And the result is surety of love of Godhead. So when we are talking about these rules and regulations of bhakti, there are so many of them, and the most effective, the most important, or rather crucial for the performance of devotional service is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then we can constantly remember Krishna. So talking about the chanting, here is another beautiful verse. Kali kale naam rupe Krishna avatar, nama hoite hoya sarva jagatan star. Kali kale naam rupe Krishna avatar. So in this age of Kali Yuga, Lord Krishna takes incarnation. How he incarnates? In the form of his holy names. So when does Krishna appear the last? Not 5,000 years ago, but the moment we say Krishna, and Krishna appears, because there is no difference between Krishna and his holy names. So the translation reads, in this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. So many of you have mentioned, we were going through the comments also, and many of you have already mentioned there that how you have started the chanting process. You are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that is really, really wonderful, and we strongly appeal to each one of you to chant at least one round of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And then with the chanting, you would see that how this Bhagavad Gita would manifest in front of you. How you will be how it will become very easy to understand. So here is a life lesson. Is it easy? I mean, I'm talking about the process of Bhakti Yoga. Is it easy? Yes. Is it doable? Yes. Am I getting convinced? Yes. Am I feeling positive? Yes. Do you want to seriously give it a try? Yes. So now, my dear friends, these questions, if 3 or more yes is your reply, then chant Hare Krishna, and the Bhakti Yoga has already started. So you have already started the process of Bhakti Yoga. Now 12.10. So he gave the perfected stage, 12.8. Then one step less, sadhana bhakti. Now further less, and Krishna is talking about Karma Yoga. So he's saying, Abhyase api asamarthosi. Abhyas api asamarthosi. You are asamarth. You are not able to do that. So abhyase api asamarthosi. Mat karma paramo bhava. Madartham api karmani. Kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. So this is what Krishna is telling here, that how a person, if you are not able to do Bhakti Yoga, what you do? You start working for me, or you start dedicating. Just try to work for me, or dedicate whatever you are doing. The result you dedicate to me. So now if you see this picture, what we have put here is from our ISKCON temple, one of the ISKCON temples. So during this COVID pandemic, especially during the second wave, many ISKCON centers were distributing lots and lots of free prasadam to those who were sick and suffering. So distribution is one part. So the devotees were engaged, they were cooking, they were offering it to Krishna, they were packing it nicely, and they were sending it out. In fact, many places, I think especially in Delhi, they tied up with Swiggy also. So Swiggy team was helping in delivering. So all that was happening. But the question is where the money was coming from. So some people say, oh, ISKCON is an international organization and money comes from US. So it's not the case. We do not get any money from abroad. You know where we get money from? We get money from people like you. So this is how those people who are not able to follow the sadhana bhakti, or they find it difficult, yet they become friend of ISKCON. So they support ISKCON. So they may not be able to chant and follow the regulated principles, but then whatever income they are having, they are dedicating it to Krishna completely or part of it. So they give it to Krishna's service. So similarly, ISKCON has been conducting lot of free courses during this COVID time. So again, all these courses, though it is free, but then it requires a lot of expenditure from our side, the computers and if we have to buy the Zoom or the YouTube, and there are so many things involved. The whole technical team is there behind it. It requires money. So again, where the money comes from? So people, Krishna is talking about such people here, that if you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. So gradually, people rise up and start performing Bhakti Yoga, because everything becomes very favorable for them. They become friend of ISKCON. They start visiting ISKCON temple. They start meeting ISKCON devotees. So you would remember, day before yesterday, we discussed a story, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. So they start taking the association of devotees, and then devotees gradually inspire them to chant, to read, to offer, to start following the regulative principles. So that is the purpose why the temples are constructed actually. In ISKCON, there is an emphasis in constructing big temples. So once it was asked to Srila Prabhupada that there are already so many temples, why you are constructing big temple? So Prabhupada said, I can sit under the tree and speak, but people will not come there. So we are constructing these big temples because big temples are the hub for preaching. So it attracts people, and when people come there, then we get an opportunity to share this wisdom with them. Because our lives have become so beautiful by following the path of Krishna consciousness. So we want to share this wisdom with others. So this is Karma Yoga. So if one cannot follow, so this is what Krishna is saying, if one cannot follow regulative principle, then engage all external senses in working for Krishna. Work for Krishna's satisfaction. And this way one comes to the perfect stage. So here you can see that different people, we have put small icons there. So somebody who's working on the computer, or there is a carpenter, or there is a singer, or general donation, people are giving donation there. So everything can be utilized in Krishna's service. So we have been getting a lot of responses about volunteering with us also. So some people want to do some designing work for us, or the website thing for us, or in whatever capacity it is possible, people are coming out and giving donations also. So the whole point is that if one cannot follow the highest and the second highest, then this is the next logical step. So this is how we can always support Krishna conscious activities. And then comes 12.11. Now in all different verses, Krishna was talking about some surety, but here there is no assured result. So what is this verse Krishna is telling? So Krishna says, Ethaitadapya saktosi kartum madyogamashritah sarva karma phala tyagam tatah kuru yatatmavan. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated. So basically, essentially, Krishna is telling here, at least be good people. At least be pious people. If you are not able to think of me, if you are not able to worship me, if you are not able to give some money also to support Krishna conscious things, it is okay. At least be a pious person. At least be a good person. So if we look around current society, the place where we are living in, like for almost last 15-20 days, somehow I have been getting these news, somebody is forwarding, or somehow these news is reaching me, that how during difficult times also, this rape is becoming so, it's coming up so much in the news. And especially shocking thing is, I have been reading at least 4 or 5 instances I remember where the father is raping the daughter. So what are we doing? What type of sinful reaction would that call for? Father is supposed to protect the daughter. And here, where the daughter goes for the protection, then if the father becomes like that. So Krishna is telling here, at least be pious. At least be a good person. At least don't do any vikarma. So I hope you remember karma, vikarma and akarma. So Krishna is telling here, please be a good person, at least be nicely situated. If you cannot do anything for me, this is the bare minimum which one should be doing. So through these alternatives, Krishna is inspiring us to become a better version of ourselves. Benchmark with your own self. So Krishna is giving so many different options, and he is inspiring us to become a better person. So every day when I wake up, if I can ask that question to myself, or rather I can make a promise to myself that whatever I was yesterday, I'll be better today. So that is benchmarking with yourself, and that is how we progress. Supreme Lord Krishna is broad-minded, accommodative, and non-judgmental. Carrying this spirit of Bhagavad Gita in us would bring a positive change in the society. So Krishna is accommodating everyone. He is accommodating all variety of people. The perfected one, a little less, a lesser than that, and then those who are not interested in Krishna also, he is giving something for them. So this is the spirit of Bhagavad Gita, that we do not become judgmental, we accommodate others also. And talking about 12.12, if you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. So Krishna is talking here about Brahma Gyan, and he is telling, so this particular verse is actually in sequence of 12.10, not 12.11. So he is referring to what he has discussed in 12.10, that is performing Karma Yoga. So Krishna is telling here, if you are not able to do that, then at least try and acquire knowledge. And better than knowledge is meditation. So essentially this verse says here that cultivation of knowledge, and by knowledge you would understand your real position, that I am an Atma, and then start meditation. So knowledge will help one in the understanding Supreme Lord and my relationship, and this way a person is requested to work without attachment of result. So again, a little repetition. So 8 was perfect and 12 is the least. So try and aspire for the 8th one, 12.8. And how to reach there? By doing 12.9, following the regulative principles. So moving ahead and coming to the last section of chapter number 12, qualities that endear one to Krishna. What makes one dear to Krishna? So Krishna is describing various qualities that makes a person dear to Krishna in verse number 13 to 20. And for the ease of understanding, I have classified them into 4 headings. So what should be the attitude towards oneself, what while dealing with other living entities, reaction when things happen to them, and dealing with the Lord. So these are the 4 categories. I have divided them. Let us look one after the other. So coming up, the first one, attitude toward oneself. So what all should I have towards me which will make me dear to Krishna? The top of the list is nirmanaha, or free from sense of proprietorship. So over various sessions, we have discussed that how we are the temporary owner of the things. Whatever we are possessing, we are actually not the owner. In fact, we are not even the owner of our own husband or wife or children. So a devotee of the Lord lives in that consciousness, nirmana. So he does not think that, okay, so my child should always serve me. No, that is not a proper understanding. In fact, he thinks, how can I serve my child so that he becomes a wonderful devotee? So this is what means to be nirmanaha. The next one is nirahankara, or free from false ego. So when the devotee of the Lord, he knows that I am not the body, I am a soul, I am not the body, then he comes to this platform of nirahankar, where his ahankar or his false ego goes. Because otherwise we believe that we are this body, we feel whatever, even my intelligence, my beauty, my possession, everything is actually belonging to the body. Because the moment I leave this body, I leave everything else also. So when we understand that, That is the proper understanding, or that is how the devotee is situated, that I am not the body. In fact, he does not only think that I am not the body, he also sees that others are also not the body. So like for example, this message of Bhagavad Gita, why should I limit this message only for Hindus, or only for Brahmins, or only for retired people, or only for one particular caste and not the other? It is for everyone, because this knowledge is for everyone. We all are having these designations or body, but we are not the body. So that is the understanding. The next one is Gata Vyathaha, or free from all distress. So if someone is doing wrong to him, if someone is harming him, if someone is causing a pain to him, such a person thinks that this is my karmic reaction. This is my sinful reaction. I have done something and that is why it is coming back to me. So he does not become disturbed by such a situation. Sarva Arambha Parityagi, free from all endeavors. Now, free from all endeavors means it is not that he stops chanting also. Free from all endeavors refer to anything which is contradictory to the spiritual practice. Anything which does not take him closer to Krishna. He does the parityag of those things, or he renounces or detaches from those things. So he does not indulge in such thing which takes him away from Krishna. So this is his attitude towards himself. Now how does he deal with other living entities? So first is Adveshta. He is non-envious. Adveshta sarva bhutanam. In fact, he is kind even to his enemies. He does not have any sort of envy. He thinks others are wonderful. He is very kind and compassionate. Samah shastrau mitra, which means he is equal to friends and enemies. So for him, everyone is a friend. Why? Because for everyone, the origin is Krishna. And because he loves Krishna. So automatically, he sees everyone with compassion and kindness and love. Others may consider him as his enemy, but he never considers anyone as his enemy. So when we acquire such a quality, then I become dear to Krishna. Udasina, or without care, which means he is neutral. He does not take sides. He does not go here or there. He is impartial. He is neutral. And the fourth is Mauni, or silence. So when he is dealing with others, he is udasin or neutral, and he is Mauni, or he speaks only what is essential. He speaks only what is related to Krishna. So that is how he becomes dear to Krishna, and that is how he controls his mind naturally and automatically. He does not have to do any specific effort to curb his mind from going here and there or control his senses. He speaks only what is essential. Then reaction when things happen to such a person. So first is he is santushta, he is satisfied. Santushta satatam yogi. He is satisfied in all the situations. In fact, in all the situations, his formula or his thumb rule is everything is perfect arrangement of the Lord. Whatever is happening in my life, everything is perfect. Because my Lord would not give me anything less than perfect. And I get better than what I deserve. So this is how this person thinks, and that is how he is santushta. He is kshami, or forgiving. He forgives others because he accepts everything what happens to me as the reaction to my sinful activity which I have done somewhere in the past. Not only that, he knows that Lord is giving him only the shadow of his reaction. He deserves much worse, but then because Krishna is merciful, so he is giving him just a shadow of his reaction. So he does not consider other person to be the cause of his misery, and that is why he can forgive others. The third is shuchihi, or pure. So he is pure both externally and internally. Externally by taking bath, by staying in a clean surrounding, and internally by chanting Hare Krishna and by thoughts absorbed in Krishna. Then he is daksh, or expert. So whatever he does, he becomes expert in that. Krishna empowers him. And na shochati na kankshati. He does not lament for anything. He does not desire anything, because as I said, that he believes that everything is perfect arrangement of the Lord. So he remains in that consciousness. So the life lesson is, I am in a better situation than I deserve to be. So this is how he feels constantly. And dealing with Lord, my arpita mano buddhir, his mind and intelligence completely absorbed in the Lord, dridha nishchayaha, strong determination to perform devotional service. So I have taken a vow to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, now come what may. From the time I wake up till the time I sleep, at least I will complete my prescribed number of rounds. So, dridhavritaha. Sthir matihi, he is fixed. He is fixed in his conviction and knowledge. He has this firm faith, avashya rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will always protect. So, because of this one thing, everything becomes very auspicious in his life. And here we have the last verse where Krishna says, those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. So Krishna is basically telling that these are all the good qualities. So it is good to have these good qualities, but most important, most significant of all the good qualities is following the path of devotional service. So Krishna is telling that that is the best and the devotees are perfect. And here is the life lesson. Like the unplugged lamp may look attractive but has no utility. If the lamp is not plugged, it has no utility. Similarly, good qualities may make one appear a nice person, but it would not have any spiritual utility unless connected to the Supreme. So unless I am connected to the Supreme Lord, I am useless. So I can have so many good qualities. I can be very forgiving and tolerant and kind and merciful and charitable. But if Krishna is not there in my life, then everything is incomplete. And with this, we are completing this chapter. So here is the chapter overview. This chapter number 12 was divided into 3 sections. First was Bhakti is the best. So here Krishna talks about the impersonal feature, those who worship the impersonal features of the Lord. He talks about how devotees are perfect and Krishna personally delivers his devotees. In section 2, progressive stages of devotion. So we discussed three options or 3 alternatives. Perfected stage, sadhana, which means following the regulative principles, and third was karma yoga, at least monetary support, at least whatever talent can be utilized in Krishna's service. The third section was qualities that endear to Krishna. So we saw these qualities clubbed into 4 segments: attitude towards oneself, dealing with other living entity, reaction when things happen to them, and dealing with the Supreme Lord. So with this, we have come to an end of chapter number 12, and here is my question to all of you. We discussed in detail about various options from verse 8 to 12. How would you like to serve Krishna? So write it down in the comment window here. How would you like to serve Krishna amongst various options which Krishna has been giving there? Leave your questions and comments in the section below. And here is the peek preview for the next session. So tomorrow we will discuss some significant qualities which is required to gain knowledge, the soul, super soul equation, and who is the real enjoyer. So thank you all very much for joining. Kindly go to StudyGita.com immediately after this and take your quiz, because we want you to internalize this knowledge, assimilate this knowledge. So this quiz has been very specifically designed so that all the important things what we have covered today gets in there. So please take the quiz after logging into StudyGita.com. So taking your leave, see you tomorrow. Signing off, Sukirti Madhavi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.